Unit 1, Recording 1.
Have you ever been on a first date with someone you really liked and found that it turned into a disaster before your very eyes? We interviewed 2 people who have had just this experience.
The worst first date I've ever had was while I was on holiday in Mallorca. I must have been about 18 and I met this gorgeous Spanish waiter, Rodrigo. He was a good 10 years older than me and had dark brown eyes and black curly hair. Well, after we'd had a few drinks in a local bar, he suggested going for a romantic walk along the beach. Things seemed to be going quite well, even though we didn't have much in common. Then we walked past a couple of guys who were standing at the water's edge talking. When they looked across at us, Rodrigo stared at them aggressively. He asked them what their problem was and what they were looking at. They hadn't even been looking at us before that, but he started arguing with them. His behaviour was a real turn-off and made me uncomfortable. I felt so ashamed that I just walked away. I never dated Rodrigo again, as you can imagine.
She was someone I knew from school, and I'd always really fancied her. I had just got a new motorbike, a Suzuki 250, which I was really proud of. So anyway, one Saturday afternoon I asked her to come out for a ride, and we went up to a disused airfield a few kilometres away. There was no one else around, so I started driving with one wheel in the air and going really fast. Claire said she loved it and could she have a go at riding it? I couldn't see why not. But how wrong can you be? Once she'd managed to start it and stay upright, she suddenly got a bit overconfident and zoomed off at top speed towards some trees. As I started running after her, I could see that she was losing control of the bike, and a minute later, bang! She went straight into a tree. Claire was a bit shocked and bruised, but my beautiful Suzuki was a wreck and cost me a fortune to repair. We did see each other again, but from then on, we stuck to public transport.
Unit 1, Recording 2. 1.
How do you feel today?
Much better, thanks.
2.
Do you love me?
Of course I do.
3.
I don't believe it! Chelsea are losing!
Are they? I thought they'd win this easily.
4.
She doesn't like me, does she?
Yes, she does. Don't be silly.
5.
Trudy's not a very good singer.
Yes, she is. How can you say that?
6.
You're not listening to me, love.
I am listening to you.
Unit 1, Recording 3. 1.
I'm sorry. I've spilt my coffee all over your tablecloth.
Never mind. It's easily washable.
2.
I can't stop thinking about Helen's operation.
Try not to worry about it. There's nothing you can do.
3.
The kids at school keep laughing at my hair.
Oh, don't take any notice of them.
4.
I think my boss heard me saying that he annoys me.
He probably didn't hear you. There's no point in getting upset about it.
5.
I've got to have 4 teeth out tomorrow.
That sounds awful.
6.
My son is going into hospital for tests next week.
Oh, you must be really worried.
7.
I can't believe we're not going to have you as our teacher anymore.
Cheer up. Your new teacher's really nice.
8.
I just can't do it. I'm too nervous. Someone else will have to give the speech.
Calm down. You'll be fine.
9.
Andy said my dress makes me look fat.
Just ignore him. You look perfect.
10.
Our car won't be ready until the weekend.
How annoying.
11.
I'm so sorry. I completely forgot to bring that book you wanted to borrow.
Don't worry, it doesn't matter.
12.
The date was going really well until he started telling me about his political views.
What a shame. I guess you won't be seeing him again then.
Unit 2, Recording 1.
Hopeful. Hopeless. Secure. Insecure. Efficient. Inefficient. Successful. Unsuccessful. Solved. Unsolved. Enthusiastic. Unenthusiastic. Comfortable. Uncomfortable. Patient. Impatient. Honest. Dishonest.
Unit 2, Recording 2.
A. Pete.
In It's a Wonderful Life with James Stewart, the scene that gets me is at the end, when one guy says, "To my big brother, George, the richest man in town." It kills me, man. In the film, it's Christmas, and James Stewart is in big trouble financially, and he's going to be arrested, and so he decides to kill himself. But then this angel comes down, only he looks like an ordinary guy, and shows him what life would have been like in his hometown if he'd never lived. And he sees how his life has touched all these other lives and really made a difference. I watched most of the film with a lump in my throat. Brilliant.
B. Nell. One of the funniest moments, I think, is in the first Indiana Jones movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, when Harrison Ford is trying to escape from his enemies. It takes place in an eastern market, and Indiana is suddenly faced by an enormous man wearing a turban and carrying a huge sword. The man gives an awesome display of swordplay with this sword, and you can see this feeling of panic passing over Indiana's face. Then he suddenly pulls out a gun and just shoots the guy. The first time I saw it, the audience broke out in a cheer. Amazing. Apparently, I read later, they were going to do a full fight, but Ford didn't want to spend hours in the scorching sun, and it would have been very expensive. So he asked Spielberg, the director, if he could just shoot the guy, and Spielberg agreed. C. Lisa.
The opening of Jaws. It's all in the music, which is played on the cello. I expect everyone knows it. You start by seeing the sea from the point of view of a shark on the bottom of the seabed. Then the scene moves to a beach, and it's a sunny day, and all these families are sunbathing and having a good time. Then there's a girl who goes into the water, and suddenly we're under the water again, looking at the girl's legs from the shark's point of view. Then suddenly she screams, and she's dragged across the surface of the water before she disappears. I was on the edge of my seat. It's much more effective than showing the shark straight away. And for the rest of the film, every time that music comes back, you know something awful is going to happen.
D. Steve.
Star Wars every time. Not the later films, but the very first film, right at the end when Luke Skywalker joins the rebel attack on the Death Star. The Death Star is this huge artificial moon which is about to destroy the rebels' planet. And the only way to destroy it is for the X-Wing pilots to fly down a narrow lane and hit a tiny opening. All of Luke's fellow pilots are killed or their X-Wings are damaged, and it's up to him alone. He makes the decision to switch off his computer and use the Force to find his target. Great shot, kid. says Han Solo. That was 1 in a million.
E. Sandy.
The most I've ever cried in a movie was in Pay It Forward. It's about this kid, Trevor, and on his first day of school, he gets this assignment. Think of an idea to change the world and put it into practice. And he has this idea that the world would change if everyone did good deeds for 3 other people. And then those 3 people would help 3 other people, and so on. And eventually it would spread right round the world. And then he gets killed trying to help a friend. And they ask everyone who has received an act of kindness or help as a result of his idea to light a candle. And you see all these thousands of candles. I tell you, no one had a dry eye in the cinema.
F. Anna.
Jurassic Park. The bit when the 2 kids are in the Jeep and it's broken down and there's some water in the back and you hear this thumping noise and all you see is the movement in the water and the fear in their eyes when they understand what it means. I saw it when I was about 11 and I was petrified. That was more frightening than actually seeing the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Unit 2, Recording 3.
Anxiety. Reality. Relationship. Economist. Pessimism. Criticism. Aggression. Contentment. Conformist. Loneliness. Violence.
Unit 3, Recording 1.
Family accidentally sold teddy bear containing $50,000 in cash. An Alaskan family accidentally sold an old teddy bear containing $50,000 in cash at a church jumble sale. Wan Song had borrowed the money for her husband's cancer treatment and had hidden it inside the bear. But she hadn't told her husband, In Hong Song, who gave the bear to the church sale in their hometown of Anchorage. Mrs. Song is now appealing for whoever bought the bear to return it to the family. She had borrowed the money from friends and relatives without her husband's knowledge to pay for surgery he needed for cancer of the pancreas. For safekeeping, she wrapped the money in foil and sewed it inside one of their children's old teddy bears, which she then hid at the back of the cupboard. Meanwhile, the family decided to help their local church jumble sale, and Mrs. Song packed up some items which her husband delivered. But when the jumble sale began to run out of items, he went back to the house, found the bear, and brought it to the sale. An older woman with 2 girls reportedly bought it for $1.
Lottery syndicate robbed of winnings at celebration party. An Italian lottery syndicate won and then lost a fortune when members were robbed at gunpoint as they divided up their $60,000 winnings. 5 masked gunmen burst into the celebration party at a social club as the money was being handed out in envelopes and grabbed the cash before escaping in a waiting car. Syndicate organizer Vincenzo Paviglianiti said, "We were just about to start handing out the money when 5 men burst in wearing masks. At first everyone laughed because they thought it was part of the party, but then the men started shouting and telling everyone to get on the floor and not to move. It was only after one of them fired a shot into the air that everyone realized it wasn't a joke. They took all the money, but at least no one was hurt." Police said the 40-strong syndicate may have been the victim of its own generosity after advertising the party on posters at Reggio Calabria in southern Italy. A spokesman said the syndicate had put up posters and balloons in the streets around their local social club and had invited neighbours to come and celebrate their win with them. In effect, the robbers knew what was going to happen and that the money was going to be divided up at the celebration.
Man loses $10,000 engagement ring in taxi. A man who'd saved up for over a year to buy a $10,000 engagement ring for his girlfriend lost it in a taxi in Chicago. Eric Culbertson put the ring, a platinum band with a round-cut diamond, into his wallet as he got into the taxi. He was taking girlfriend Krista Saputo to a restaurant where he'd intended to propose. But after leaving the taxi, he realised the ring was no longer in his wallet. The 28-year-old had paid for a suite at a city hotel and arranged for chocolate-covered strawberries and champagne for their arrival. He'd also booked a table at a restaurant in the city, says the Chicago Tribune. The following day, the couple travelled to Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin, for a family reunion. There, Culbertson bought a $25 cubic zirconia ring and asked Saputo to marry him. She accepted.
Unit 3, Recording 2. 1.
I'm sorry, sir, but there's no reservation under that name.
What do you mean? My company made the reservation last week over the phone.
Well, I'm sorry, but we have no record of that.
Well, it's not my fault that you hadn't recorded it properly. Do you have no available rooms?
Well, let me see what I can do.
2.
Oh, what's this? A parking ticket?
Yes, sir. You've overstayed the 45 minutes that you paid for.
I understand that, but I'm only 2 minutes late.
Sorry, sir. But you cannot park for longer than the time you pay for.
Can I make a suggestion? Why don't I pay for another 45 minutes now, and then everyone's happy?
OK. Just this once, then.
3.
That'll be £175, please.
What? But you haven't repaired the washing machine. I don't think that's fair.
I realise that, but we charge £175 for a call-out at the weekend.
But this is ridiculous. I work during the week, and I'm only here at the weekend.
Look, I'll tell you what. Let me repair it, then we can discount this charge from the repair bill.
Unit 3, Recording 3. 1. A.
What do you mean?
B.
What do you mean?
2. A.
Well, it's not my fault.
B.
Well, it's not my fault.
3. A.
I understand that.
B.
I understand that.
4. A.
Can I make a suggestion?
B.
Can I make a suggestion?
5. A.
I don't think that's fair.
B.
I don't think that's fair.
6. A.
But this is ridiculous.
B.
But this is ridiculous.
Unit 4, Recording 1. 1.
Several famous pictures of water lilies were painted by Monet.
2.
Portuguese is spoken in Brazil.
3.
The structure of DNA has been known about for more than 60 years.
4.
At the moment, more tablets are being bought than ever before.
5.
New Zealand was originally inhabited by Maoris.
6.
The 2022 World Cup won't be held in Brazil.
7.
Humans had already arrived in the Americas before Christopher Columbus discovered them in 1492.
8.
The part of James Bond in the 2012 film Skyfall was played by Daniel Craig.
Unit 4, Recording 2.
Driving each other crazy. There's a well-known joke. A woman is driving down a motorway and her husband phones her on her mobile. "Darling, be careful," he screams. "I've just heard there's a car driving the wrong way on the motorway near where you are." "It's not just one car," she says. "There are hundreds of them." And here's another one. A man is driving his daughter and they are stuck in traffic. The little girl says, "I have a question." "What is it?" asks her father. "When you're driving, are you ever the stupid idiot?" Why do we laugh at these jokes? Is it because we recognise some truth in them? A lot of people seem to think that men and women do display quite different characteristics when it comes to driving. And in general, both male and female drivers tend to be quite critical of the opposite sex. Men are too confident in their own abilities. They never listen, they never need a map. They're always sure they know the way, says Kathy, whose husband rarely lets her drive the car. They tend to drive too close to the car in front, and they're incredibly impatient. If there's a car in front, they have to pass it, even if it doesn't make a difference to their overall speed. I think it's some sort of territorial thing. You know, they have to be king of the road, and everybody else on the road is an idiot. Danielle, a businesswoman who drives a BMW, agrees. Men never indicate before they turn left, and they tend to brake at the very last minute. If I'm in a car with a man, I often feel quite nervous. I'd much rather be driven by a woman. It seems as if insurance companies would agree. Apparently, whilst the number of accidents men and women have tend to be about equal, the accidents which involve women are generally relatively minor, and they are therefore less expensive to insure. In contrast, men tend to have more serious accidents, and the worst offenders are young men aged between 18 and 25. What do men think about women? Interestingly, one of their main concerns is about women as passengers. "Women passengers can't keep quiet," says Paul, a retired architect. "You know, you're going too fast. Can you see that pedestrian? Didn't you see that traffic light?" Or, "I feel sick. Can't you go straight?" There's always some comment. Pete agrees. And women are hopeless with directions. I think it's because they're nervous about going to new places. I reckon men are better at finding new places, and women are better at finding places they've been to before. Certainly, it seems to be the case that if a man fails to follow directions, it's because his female passenger did not convey them properly. But what about women's driving? Pete again. "My girlfriend has some strange habits, like switching on the windscreen wipers as a signal that she intends to turn right. Then she gets annoyed when she's driving, and I brake, put my foot down as if I'm braking when she's going round corners. I mean, one of us has to." Despite men's generally high opinion of their own driving skills, a report published in 2004 came down firmly in favour of women drivers. According to the report, women score more highly than men on almost all counts. These included driving within the speed limits, overtaking safely, and conducting different manoeuvres successfully, including signalling in good time, reversing, and braking quickly. They also had a better awareness of other drivers on the road. There was only one aspect of driving where women did not perform as successfully as men, and that was, no surprise here, the ability to park their cars. When it comes to driving, it seems that men and women may indeed come from different planets.
Unit 4, Recording 3. 1.
You look different. Have you had your hair cut?
Yes. What do you think?
2.
You look pleased with yourself.
Yes, I finally got an article published in the local newspaper.
3.
Can you have these business cards printed for me?
Yes. When do you want them done by?
4.
Oh no! I'm so sorry, all over your shirt.
It really doesn't matter.
No, I'll pay for you to get it cleaned.
5.
I'm sorry about the noise.
Yes, what's going on?
We're having some shelves put up.
6.
I'm not sure about this contract they want me to sign.
Me neither. I'd have it checked by a lawyer if I were you.
Unit 4, Recording 4.
Rebellious. Resilient. Uncommunicative. Creativity. Argumentative. Logic. Needy. Spatial. Extrovert. Humorous. Talkative. Absent-minded. Open-minded. Self-sufficient.
Unit 5, Recording 1.
The weird ways people meet. People always regret asking me and my wife how we got together. It's a long story involving other relationships and several countries, and to be honest, it's not that interesting, so I'll spare you the details. We were at a restaurant in Tuscany on our summer holiday last year, though, when we met another English couple who had a far more interesting story than us. Lynn and Andy had actually met online before they got together, or at least they thought they had. After a few casual conversations through an online dating agency, they decided to meet for real. Lynn arrived at the restaurant first, and shortly after was approached by Andy, who thought she was someone else. It turns out they'd both arranged to meet different people, but liked the look of each other, and that was that. And they're not alone. It seems there are all sorts of places you might meet that special someone. Lucas met Sophia for the first time when he crashed into her car on his bicycle. It was raining and I was coming downhill really fast, so I couldn't really see where I was going. Sophia opened her car door and I went straight into it and off my bike, explains Lucas. I was unconscious for a few seconds, and when I came round, there was this beautiful young woman asking me, "Are you okay?" Well, after that, she went to the hospital with me and was just really kind, really caring, and we hit it off. Every cloud has a silver lining, so they say, and Nick McKiddie would most likely agree. He was leaving the office late one night when he got robbed by a group of young men. He wasn't hurt, but they stole his phone and wallet, so he called the police. Susan Harris, a young police officer at the time, attended the call. Nick explains, "I don't know whether I was in shock because of what had happened, but I think it was love at first sight. I would never usually be so confident, but I just asked if she wanted to go for a drink sometime, and to my surprise, she said yes." Nick and Susan got married last December. It seems crime can indeed bring people together. I know a couple who started dating after doing jury service on a particularly lengthy court case. They were spending so much time together during the trial that when it finally ended, they realised they were really missing each other. Animals don't have the same social inhibitions as humans do, and this was certainly the case when Ree took her dog Ben to the local dog park. As soon as I took his lead off, he ran straight to another dog on the other side of the park and started getting very friendly indeed, she laughs. I actually had to pull him away, and that was when I met Ben, the other dog's owner. We had a good laugh about it all, especially when we realised he had the same name as my dog. We became friends after that, and, well, the rest is history.
Unit 5, Recording 2. 1.
He said it was just a little white lie.
2,
She's doing your head in.
3,
They're hopelessly in love with each other?
4,
His jokes didn't make me laugh.
5,
She doesn't cry very often.
6,
She hasn't had plastic surgery.
7,
He's feeling really stressed out.
8,
He spent the whole time dreaming about someone else.
Unit 5, Recording 3. A.
I'm sorry, Mr. Grady is busy at the moment. Could you call back a bit later on?
When would be a good time to call?
B.
Hello, Flight Centre. How can I help?
Well, I left a message earlier about my flight to Madrid.
C.
Patrick? It's Jude Cummins here. Sorry it's a bit late.
Oh, thanks for getting back to me, Jude.
D.
I'm calling about a mistake on my phone bill.
Sorry to stop you there. I'll have to put you through to another department.
E.
Hello, this is Mrs. Howard, Dan's mother. You wanted to speak to me.
Yes, it's regarding your son's behaviour at school.
F.
The only tickets we have left are at $15 for...
Sorry, you're breaking up.
G.
The wedding menu. Now, where did I put it? It should be here somewhere. Oops. Now I've dropped everything and...
Sorry, am I calling at a bad time?
H.
Could you check and see when my order was actually sent out?
Sure. Can I just confirm your name and postcode?
I.
This is Shorten's Wholesale Foods. Do you want to order anything this week?
I'm not sure. If you'll just bear with me, I'll ask my boss.
J.
We should have somebody with you by 3 o'clock.
Could you speak up a bit, please?
I said we should have somebody with you by 3.
Unit 6, Recording 1.
Greatest superheroes of all time. With their simple stories of good versus evil, comic book superheroes are as popular today as when they first appeared. So who are these much-loved characters? Here is a brief introduction to 4 of the greatest superheroes of all. 1.
In 1939 America, DC Comics seized on the public's desire for escapism during a period of social and economic deprivation and developed a new superhero. The creators of the Man of Steel wanted a hero in a colourful costume who would look good in a comic book. Although there had been superheroes before, this was the first total package with a costume, secret identity, and abilities beyond those of mortal men. Born in a far-off galaxy, the baby hero discovers as he grows up that our sun gives him extraordinary powers. He can fly faster than a speeding bullet, has incredible strength and X-ray vision, and can only be hurt or destroyed by a green rock from his original planet, Krypton. He is adopted and brought up by Martha and Jonathan Kent to uphold truth, justice, and the American way. Whenever danger calls, he's never far from a telephone box and a quick change, ready to save the world. He's had several TV and film incarnations, the most successful of which starred Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder in 1978. Ironically, creators Siegel and Schuster signed away their rights to the character for $130.
2. Born on Paradise Island, youthful and immortal, this princess has been blessed by ancient gods and goddesses with powers of super strength and speed and the ability to fly. The superheroine made her first appearance in 1941. It is said she was invented by William Marston for DC Comics as a role model for girls and to raise the morale of US troops in World War II. Her alter ego, Diana Price, works as a hospital nurse, but transforms herself by flicking her lasso. As well as the lie-detecting lasso, she has bracelets which can stop bullets, but unfortunately she loses her powers if she is tied up with her own lasso. She is instantly recognisable by her Stars and Stripes costume, and in 1976 her adventures were brought to life in a 3-year TV series starring ex-Miss USA beauty queen Linda Carter. 3.
Created by artist Bob Kane and writer Bill Finger for DC Comics, the stories combined superheroics and a secret identity. This character cannot stop bullets, fly, or look through walls. He is a normal man who becomes one of the greatest crime fighters ever because of his detective skills, highly trained physical abilities, amazing gadgets, and of course his Batmobile car, kept in a hidden cave beneath his mansion. By day, he is rich socialite Bruce Wayne, but at night he turns into the Caped Crusader, accompanied by his sidekick Robin. He was memorably brought to life in the 1960s TV series and in the film of 1996, starring Michael Keaton, Kim Basinger, and Jack Nicholson, a film that featured 4 of the series' best arch-villains, Catwoman, the Joker, the Penguin, and the Riddler.
4. Like many other superheroes, Peter Parker is an orphan, although he has an uncle, Ben, and Aunt May. Part of his appeal is that both adolescents and adults can readily identify with him. A poor school student, he goes on to become a regular working guy, a high school teacher with both girlfriend and money problems. His world is turned upside down when his uncle Ben is murdered. He gains his superpowers during a high school science demonstration, when a radiated spider bites him and gives him superhuman strength and reflexes and the ability to stick to most surfaces. In the movie, which was the biggest money spinner of 2002, Parker grows web slingers which shoot and spin webs and puts on his red and blue costume to fight arch-enemies such as the Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus.
Unit 6, Recording 2.
Have you lived here long? How long have you been working here?
Unit 6, Recording 3. 1.
What have you been doing?
2.
How long has she lived there?
3.
Have you seen this film before?
4.
How long has he been waiting?
5.
Have you tried Thai food?
6.
Have they finished their homework?
7.
How long have you been studying English?
8.
Has she been working hard?
Unit 7, Recording 1. 1.
I get really annoyed by cyclists who ride on the pavement.
2.
I hate people who talk loudly on their mobile phones on the train.
3.
I hate jeans that are too tight.
4.
I really don't like parties where I don't know anyone.
5.
I can't stand the taste of cola which has gone flat.
6.
I hate days when I don't get anything finished.
7.
I really don't like restaurants where the service is slow.
8.
I get annoyed by children whose parents let them make a lot of noise.
9.
I hate sandwiches that have too much butter in them.
10.
I hate politicians whose policies change as soon as they get into power.
Unit 7, Recording 2.
Hughie Erskine, who was a charming and attractive young man, was unfortunately not very successful in business and therefore did not have much money. He was in love with a beautiful girl called Laura Merton, whose father had demanded £10,000 to allow them to marry. One day, Hughie went to visit his friend Alan Trevor, who was an artist. Trevor was just putting the finishing touches to a portrait of a beggar. The beggar, who was wearing torn, shabby old clothes and holding out his hat for money, looked sad and tired. Poor old man, thought Hughie, he looks so miserable, and gave the man £1, which was all the money he had. The beggar smiled and said, "Thank you, sir, thank you." Hughie spent the rest of the day with Laura, who was annoyed because he had given away his last £1, and he had to walk home because he had no money for a bus. The next day he went to a bar, where he met Alan Trevor. Trevor told him that the beggar was in reality Baron Hausberg, whose financial skills had made him a millionaire. Hughie felt deeply embarrassed about giving him the £1. The following day he received an envelope from the Baron, which had a cheque for £10,000 inside it. The message on the envelope said, "A wedding present to Hughie and Laura from an old beggar."
Unit 7, Recording 3. A.
I was working as a journalist for a small independent tech magazine at the time, and we had one invitation to the event. I was lucky enough to be chosen from our office to attend. The atmosphere as you entered the room was electric. Everyone was excited, and there was a constant buzz of chatter until the lights went out and the opening music came on. There had been rumors circulating as to what it was going to be for a few days, and so people already had a basic idea. But when it was finally revealed, I don't think anyone had expected to see something so well designed. People were truly wowed, and there was an audible pause before everybody clapped and cheered. It was amazing to see just how far we'd come with technology at that point.
B.
It was amazing. Everyone was already expecting something special because of who the director was. But this really surpassed our expectations. The fireworks were amazing. But what really topped it off was when the Queen arrived. At that point, the crowd went wild, and people near me were waving a bright banner which read, "We love you, London." That summed it up for me, I think, as the whole show was a celebration of everything British. It was an excellent start to what turned out to be a fantastic event. The excitement lasted all summer.
C.
I was there with my brother, and we had been lucky enough to get tickets at the last minute. We hadn't really expected to get so far in the tournament, and had to make lots of last-minute arrangements in order to be able to stay there for the match. But it was definitely worth it. No one actually scored throughout the game, and we were literally on the edge of our seats the whole time. The atmosphere was a strange mix of excitement and exhaustion, as both players and spectators were getting tired. Then, Iniesta came through at the end of extra time, and our half of the stadium went wild. It was crazy. People I didn't know were embracing me and shouting. Several grown men were crying tears of happiness by the end. At that moment, I felt really proud of the team and my country, as this was the first time we'd won this competition. It really was quite an achievement.
D.
At the time, I was probably one of the world's biggest fans of the series, so when I heard that I'd won a competition to be one of 1,700 people at a special event at the Natural History Museum, I couldn't believe my luck. This was a special gathering organised by the publisher, in which the author gave a speech, followed by an all-night event during which, at midnight, we all received a free signed copy of the final book. There were so many unanswered questions from the earlier books in the series, which we were promised would finally be answered in this book. So, although the celebration was really good fun, to be honest, by the end of the night, I just wanted to get home and start reading.
Unit 7, Recording 4. 1.
I hope I didn't offend you. I hope I didn't offend you.
2.
How's everything going? How's everything going?
3.
Don't worry, it's not important. Don't worry, it's not important.
4.
No, really. I couldn't manage any more. No, really. I couldn't manage any more.
5.
It doesn't matter. These things happen. It doesn't matter. These things happen.
6.
I'll call you if I get a chance next week. I'll call you if I get a chance next week.
Unit 7, Recording 5. 1.
I hope I didn't offend you.
2.
How's everything going?
3.
Don't worry, it's not important.
4.
No, really. I couldn't manage any more.
5.
It doesn't matter. These things happen.
6.
I'll call you if I get a chance next week.
Unit 8, Recording 1. A.
I work in a market in London, just at the weekends. I've got a second-hand bookstall. And one day, I was getting my stall ready when an old lady came up and started looking at the books. She started chatting and telling me how she used to live in that part of London, and how much it had changed since she'd last been in the area. While we were talking, I put out a book, and she picked it up. "Oh, Grimm's Fairy Tales," she said. "I had a copy of this when I was a child. I used to read it again and again." She began flicking through it, and I carried on laying out the books. And when I looked up, she was just standing there, shaking, and she'd gone completely white. But, this is my actual book," she gasped. "Look, it's got my name, Joan, in it. How on earth did you get it?" Then she told me how there'd been a terrible fire while her family were away on holiday, and the house had been burnt to the ground. She thought all her belongings had been destroyed. She pulled out her purse to buy the book from me, but I stopped her. No, please accept it as a gift. It's such a wonderful story."
B.
I was walking along the road in Windsor, where I live, when I heard a phone ringing in a phone box, and something prompted me to go in and pick it up. There was a voice at the other end saying, in a very businesslike way, "Sorry to bother you at home, Julian, but I can't find that file you were working on. Do you remember where you put it?" It was Jasmine, who I work with at my office in London. I stopped her before she could go on. "Jasmine, I'm in a phone box. How did you know I was here?" And she just said, "Stop messing around. I'm really busy and I need that file." I kept trying to convince her about where I was, but she just wouldn't believe me. Anyway, I told her where the file was, and then suddenly she interrupted me. "Julian, hang on a minute. I didn't dial your home phone number. I dialed the Windsor code, but then I dialed your security card number, which is next to your name in the book at work. So, somehow, my security card number just happened to be the same number as the phone box that I was walking past.
C.
A couple of years ago, we moved to an old house in the country, and the man who lived there before had died, and we had to clear up a lot of his belongings. So we built a big bonfire at the end of the garden and took all the rubbish down there to burn. I just put a box full of stuff onto the fire, and I was standing chatting, when there was a bang, and I felt something hit the side of my head. I took my earring off, and there was a bullet stuck in it, which had been on the fire and had exploded. If I hadn't had the earrings on, it would have gone straight into my neck. And the scary thing was, the bullet had the letter J on it, and my name's Jane. So it was as if this bullet was intended for me.
Unit 8, Recording 2.
1.
Wear a coat when you go out. It's quite cold for this time of year.
2.
I find the idea of bungee jumping very frightening.
Or,
I find the idea of bungee jumping quite frightening.
or,
I find the idea of bungee jumping really frightening.
3.
Catherine was absolutely furious about the mess that the children had made.
Or,
Catherine was really furious about the mess that the children had made.
4.
Can you turn your music down, please? It's very noisy.
5.
We've been moving house all day. We're absolutely exhausted.
6.
Mum, I'm absolutely starving. Can I have a burger?
7.
Have you seen the new sitcom on ABC? It's really funny.
8. Didn't you take an umbrella? You must be absolutely soaked.
Unit 8, Recording 3.
1.
Look, the river's frozen. It must have been very cold during the night.
2.
I think Greg's out. He didn't answer the phone.
But he might not have heard it. He sometimes plays his music very loud.
3.
Here, I brought you some flowers.
Oh, you shouldn't have done that.
Or,
Oh, you didn't have to do that.
4.
Sally, look where you're going when you cross the road. You could have been hit by a car.
Or,
Sally, look where you're going when you cross the road. You might have been hit by a car.
5.
At school, we could learn 2 languages if we wanted to.
6.
I'm very sorry I'm late. I got stuck in traffic.
Well, you could have called to let us know. We've been waiting for half an hour.
Or,
Well, you should have called to let us know. We've been waiting for half an hour.
I was going to phone, but I couldn't find the number.
Unit 8, Recording 4. 1,
She can't have sent the letter.
2,
It must have cost a fortune.
3,
You should become an actor.
4,
Careful, she might have hit you.
5,
It could hurt a bit.
6,
We can't have put it in the wrong place.
Unit 8, Recording 5. 1,
She can't have sent the letter.
2,
It must have cost a fortune.
3,
Careful, she might have hit you.
4,
We can't have put it in the wrong place.
Unit 9, Recording 1. A.
A young man asked a rich old man how he had become wealthy. The old man said, "Well, son, it was 1932 in the depth of the Great Depression. I was down to my last cent. I invested that cent in a golf ball. I spent the day polishing the golf ball, and at the end of the day, I sold it for 2 cents. The next morning, I invested that 2 cents in 2 golf balls. I spent the entire day polishing them and sold them for 4 cents. I continued like this for a few weeks, and by the end of that time, I'd accumulated $100. Then my wife's father died and left us $3 million.
B.
Stuart Montgomery of Glasgow, Scotland, was going to bed one night when his wife peered out of the bedroom window and told him he'd left the light on in the garage. Montgomery opened the back door to go and switch off the light, but saw that there were 2 men moving about in the garage. He phoned the police, who asked, "Is there actually a burglar in your house?" When he said no, they told him to lock all his doors and stay inside. No one was free at the moment, but someone would come when available. Montgomery hung up, waited a minute, and then phoned back. "Hello, I just called to tell you that there were burglars in my garage. Well, you don't have to worry about them now because I've just shot them both." Within 2 minutes, 4 police cars and an ambulance screeched to a halt outside his house. At least 10 police officers rushed into the garage and caught the men red-handed. One of the policemen said to Stuart, "I thought you'd said you'd shot them." "I thought you said there was no one available," replied Montgomery.
C.
A couple went into an exclusive restaurant in Los Angeles. "I'm sorry," said the head waiter, "there are no tables available." "Do you know who I am?" said the man. "I am Dwayne Wright, the film director." "I'd like to help you, Mr. Wright, but there are no tables left tonight." "I'm certain that if the president came in and asked for a table, there would be one free." "Well, I suppose so, yes," said the waiter after a brief pause. "Yes, there would be a table for the president." "Good, I'll take it. The president isn't coming this evening, so I'll have his table."
Unit 9, Recording 2. 1,
They were very wealthy and lived in a beautiful mansion.
2,
Things were pretty bad. I'd lost my job and my home, and I was down to my last cent.
3,
Over the years, we've accumulated an enormous number of books.
4,
She peered round the door, hoping he'd gone.
5,
After I'd hung up, I regretted being so rude to her.
6,
He saw the red traffic light at the last minute and screeched to a halt.
7,
The police arrived at the bank and caught the robber red-handed.
8,
There was a brief pause, and then the audience broke into deafening applause.
Unit 9, Recording 3.
Drew enters the flat to see Jenny looking very upset. The noise of plate smashing and screaming can be heard coming from the kitchen.
Oh, Drew, I'm so pleased to see you.
Why, what on earth's all that shouting in the kitchen?
It's Simon. He's gone completely mad because he thinks Anna's seeing someone else.
Right, I'm going to stop this.
But, no, it's far too dangerous. He's got a knife.
You don't think he'll use it, do you?
I really do think he might be, because he's been drinking. Anna's absolutely terrified.
This is ridiculous. Let's try and talk to him.
He won't do any good. He's far too drunk.
OK then, let's call the police.
Oh.
There's absolutely nothing else we can do.
No.
Unit 9, Recording 4. 1.
Wow, you look absolutely stunning.
2.
What on earth have you two been up to in here?
3.
It was Sheila who said those things about you, not me.
4.
You're such a lucky guy.
5.
I did leave a message for you. You must just have missed it.
6.
Who on earth can we find to do it at such short notice?
7.
It's going to be far too expensive to hire a band for the wedding.
8.
What annoyed me was that he didn't once say thank you.
9, Recording 5. 1.
Do you mind if we stop at the shop quickly on the way?
That's all right by me. I'm in no hurry.
2.
I don't think this mouse is working properly.
Let me have a look. No, there's nothing wrong with it. It just needs cleaning.
3.
Which hole does this part fit into?
The green one, I think. Yeah, that looks about right.
4.
Wait, where are you going?
Don't worry, I'll be right back.
5.
I think I'll just stay in and watch TV.
It's not like you to stay in on a Saturday night. What's wrong?
6.
Is this skirt supposed to have pockets at the front?
No, you've got it on the wrong way round.
7.
I can't believe Justina just spoke to me like that in front of everyone else.
Well, it serves you right for spreading gossip about her in the first place.
8.
Gary's really quite interesting when you get to know him, isn't he?
Yes, I must admit I was completely wrong about him.
9.
Let's leave it until later.
No, we need to do it right here, right now.
10.
Why is Dave so depressed at the moment?
It seems everything's gone wrong for him lately. He lost his job and he split up with his girlfriend.
Unit 9, Recording 6. 1.
Any suggestions?
Why not give them a call?
2.
Have you ever thought about writing your own book?
That's a really good idea. I hadn't thought of that.
3.
This TV hasn't worked properly since I bought it.
If I were you, I'd take it back.
4.
I just wondered if you've got any advice about what I should do?
To be honest, the most important thing is to do what's right.
5.
You should definitely ask her about it. She might just have forgotten.
Yeah, perhaps you're right.
6.
Grant can't decide what he wants to do when he leaves school.
I would recommend speaking to a careers counsellor.
7.
Hello, I'd like some advice about these smartphones, please.
Yes, of course. First things first, I would suggest that you decide which features you want.
8.
You ought to have a word with your boss about your hours, you know.
I know what you mean. It's just hard to find the right time.
Unit 10, Recording 1.
Where's the soap? It's funny how TV programmes don't always live up to your expectations. I can't tell you how many times I've turned on the news only to be told who the winner of a talent show is, or what a celebrity has been wearing, or the number of comedies which didn't make me laugh. So it comes as no surprise that rarely does a soap opera contain soap or singing, let alone classical singing. So where is the soap? In 1930, the manager of a Chicago radio station approached a detergent company in order to get sponsorship for a daily 15-minute drama about a woman who left her job as a speech teacher to work in radio. This was to become Painted Dreams, a serial considered to be the first soap opera. The format was so popular that by 1940, radio soap operas made up 90% of commercially sponsored daytime radio. The word soap comes from the fact that these programs were sponsored, and sometimes even produced, by companies which produced domestic cleaning products. They were aimed at housewives who, at that time, would be at home. All soap operas are defined by the fact that their storylines are continuous. Several plots often run at the same time, and each episode usually ends with a cliffhanger, an open ending designed to make people want to watch or listen to the next episode. Most soap operas are open, in that they never end. Some British soap operas have been on TV since the 1950s, though obviously the characters come and go. However, in Latin America, soap operas tend to be closed, although they last for months and can have hundreds of episodes. Telenovelas, as they're called there, do reach a conclusion. In the Americas, soap operas tend to focus on glamorous and seductive characters with wealthy lifestyles, whereas in the UK and Australia, they tend to be based on the lives of working-class people. In both cases, storylines are based around family life, relationships, moral issues, and sometimes topical issues. Romance and secret relationships feature heavily, and these can be compared to those of old-style paperback romance novels. Plots can often move into bizarre areas, such as in an episode of US soap Dallas, where in order to bring back a dead character, it was shown that a previous season had all been a dream of one of the characters. Perhaps not as strange as an Australian soap, which had one scene showing a male dog dreaming about the female dog from next door.
Unit 10, Recording 2. 1.
He told her he loved her. He told her he loved her.
2.
Alex said he'd done his homework, but had left it at home. Alex said he'd done his homework, but had left it at home.
3.
The government said they wouldn't raise taxes. The government said they wouldn't raise taxes.
4.
The witness said she'd never seen the man before. The witness said she'd never seen the man before.
5.
Vanessa told her husband she had to work late that night. Vanessa told her husband she had to work late that night.
6,
Joe said he'd left his wallet at home. Joe said he'd left his wallet at home.
7,
They told us they'd never been here before. They told us they'd never been here before.
8,
Vicky told us she'd really enjoyed the meal. Vicky told us she'd really enjoyed the meal.
Unit 11, Recording 1.
1.
What would you do if you could take 6 months off work?
If my children were a bit older, I'd take them on a world tour.
2.
What would you do if you became world leader?
I'd try to make the gap between rich and poor narrower.
3.
What part of your body would you change if you could?
My hands. I'd love to have slim, elegant fingers.
4.
If you had to live on a desert island, what would you take with you?
I think I'd take a camera so I could record the experience.
5.
What would you rescue from your home if it was on fire?
I'd save as many of my books as I could.
6.
If you could change places with anyone, who would you choose?
If it was just for a day, I'd choose a supermodel.
Or,
if it were just for a day, I'd choose a supermodel.
7.
What would you study if you went back to school?
I'd learn Italian so I could read all those wonderful old Italian recipe books.
8.
What would you do if you only had 4 weeks to live?
I'd eat and drink anything I wanted.
Unit 11, Recording 2.
Example. Eruption. Surface. More. Dinosaur. Pure. Fuel. Me. Catastrophe. Teacher. Temperature. Ocean. Say. Radioactive. Hot. Volcanic. Area. Nuclear. Void. Asteroid. No. Solar. Volcano. Silent. Scientific. Dioxide.
Unit 11, Recording 3.
Researchers at Harvard University in the US studied 8,000 men for 65 years and found those who ate modest amounts of chocolate up to 3 times a month lived almost a year longer than those who didn't eat any. They concluded that this was likely to be because cocoa contains antioxidants called polyphenols, also found in red wine, which prevent the oxidation of harmful cholesterol. Antioxidants are also known to protect against cancer.
Although getting caught in the rain may make you feel cold and uncomfortable, this unpleasant experience will not in itself cause you to catch a virus. As the viruses that cause colds and flu are spread by tiny moisture droplets, you can only catch a cold or flu by breathing in moisture droplets carrying the viruses, often as a result of an infected person coughing or sneezing near you, or shaking hands with or touching an infected person. More people seem to catch colds and flu in cold weather because they spend a lot of time indoors together and are therefore more likely to come into contact with viruses. Make sure you wash your hands frequently
and stand back from people with coughs and sneezes.
It depends on whether you are referring to the loose product or the brewed cup. Tea leaves have more caffeine than coffee beans before they are brewed. Prepared, however, tea is diluted quite a bit more than most coffees. A pound of tea yields 200 to 250 cups of tea, while a pound of coffee makes approximately 80 cups. This will of course vary depending on how strong you like your tea or coffee. It has also been found that about 80% of the caffeine content in tea is extracted during the first minute of brewing. So, if you want to reduce your caffeine intake, one suggestion is to discard the first brew and then make another cup using the same tea bag or tea leaves.
A dog may be a man's best friend, but not if the man is among the estimated 10 to 15% of the population that suffers from pet allergies. The allergen is a specific protein produced not in the animal's fur, but primarily in its skin and, to a lesser extent, its saliva. As the animal is stroked or brushed, or as it rubs up against furniture or people, microscopic flakes of skin, called dander, become airborne. Since all cats and dogs have skin, there are no non-allergenic breeds. However, since short-haired pets have less hair to shed, they send less dander into the air, so are preferable for those with pet allergies. Dogs are half as likely to cause allergic reactions as cats, but if you're allergic to furry animals, the only no-risk pets are fish and reptiles.
There are all kinds of popular theories that first thing in the morning is best because you will speed up your metabolism and burn more calories all day, that exercising before dinner will reduce your appetite, that exercise in the evening won't work because it will rev you up and keep you from getting a good night's sleep. However, many experts agree that our body temperature plays an enormous part in exercise and fitness performance, and that the body performs best when its temperature is naturally higher, which is at around 6 p.m. Muscular temperature also affects our flexibility and strength, so we are less likely to injure ourselves at that time of day and more likely to be able to develop a muscular physique.
Unit 12, Recording 1.
5 steps to making a viral video. Have you ever uploaded a funny or interesting video clip to a video sharing website? Chances are that if you did, it got viewed by some of your friends who you showed it to. But not many people picked up on it from outside your social circle. So what is it that makes some videos go viral? Why do some videos get viewed several million times, especially when they look like they've been put together by a bored teenager at home with nothing better to do? I spoke to Danica Holmes, a social media analyst with a special interest in video, to ask her advice on what to do if I wanted to make a viral video. Here's what she said. 1. Think about who will be watching your video, so you know who to aim it at. Even if you're going for universal appeal, you need to start with a specific, targeted viewer base. Think about what makes these types of people tick and what they like to talk about with their friends. 2. Once you've got to know your audience, you'll need to choose the right entertainment aspect to hit a nerve, the right spark. The 4 most common sparks are funny, sexy, surprising, and random. Cute often makes an appearance as well, but this can have limited appeal to some audiences. 3. Once you've chosen the spark, you need to focus on this aspect and emphasise it. There's no point in your video being quite funny. It's all or nothing. As a general rule, your video should be able to cause a physical reaction, such as laughter, crying, a shocked expression, etc. 4. A meme is an iconic symbol of a culture at a specific time, which gets passed on from person to person. This is exactly what you want to happen to your video. So create a buzz and turn up the volume. Share comments on it, on microblogging and social networking websites, and encourage other people to do the same. 5. This is the true test of whether your video has gone viral. If people copy your video wearing different clothes or acting it out in different situations, or remix to a different soundtrack, then you know you've created a viral video. At the height of the Harlem Shake meme in early 2013, 4,000 copies were being uploaded a day around the world. This also ensures your viral video will be remembered in years to come. And in today's fast-paced throwaway society, that's quite an achievement.
Unit 12, Recording 2. 1.
It's important not to focus too much on the negative aspects. Think about the positives too.
2.
I've often wondered what it would be like to be locked up in a house for 12 weeks with 9 strangers.
3.
One thing I love about weekends is not being woken up by an alarm clock.
4.
Despite having done a lot of charity work in his life, he is best remembered for his music.
5.
Marcia says she likes not being responsible for other people in her new job, but I don't really believe her.
6.
I expected you to have finished that hours ago. Why is it taking so long?
7.
I don't want to worry you, but there's a huge black rain cloud over there and it seems to be coming towards us.
8.
I'd like to have learnt more about ancient Greek philosophy when I was at university.
Unit 12, Recording 3. 1.
She agreed to be interviewed.
2.
You should focus on winning the race.
3.
We'd like to have known about it sooner.
4.
I hate being told what to do.
5.
You promised not to be late.
6.
I want to be lying on a beach right now.